Hey y'all, this is AL Thick Madame, and this is the actual recap review for the new television series Our Kind of People. So earlier, I didn't realize, but I was doing what I've done before in the past when it came to other shows, which is kind of giving an introduction to who they are because they're so new and we don't know who they are like that. The characters, some of the people we might recognize, but it's like, wait a minute, where I know them from? So I kind of was having one of those moments and I had to realize it was not about to be a recap review. It was going to be an overview of who these people are and, in their roles and who we've known them to be in other roles. So, yeah. All right, y'all. So let's go ahead and get into this recap review. So we see three black women driving up the coast in a what is that? Is that a Toyota Solar? What is that emblem? A Solaris, whatever that particular brand of car is. So I was like, oh, okay. And we see a woman named Angela driving, a young lady who we find out later on her name is Nikki, and then the aunt who is in the passenger side seat, her name is Patricia. And the woman Angela is actually Yaya. A lot of y'all might know her from when she played Whitney Houston in one of the various, I guess, biopics of her. I don't know. I've never seen that one. Never seen that one. I'm always like kind of like, ooh, when it comes to stuff like that. I've seen a few, but I don't know if at that time so many had come out that I was just like, Lord, it was very controversial at the time. People were reading it before it even came out. But if I'm not mistaken, she's an amazing singer as well, like in real life. So yeah, I think I've seen her in other things before. So it is what it is. But they are driving, and we find out that they are running a business or about to 100% run a business in the area that they are heading to. But they made a detour first and they stopped at a beach. Well, the youngest person in the car was like, this is my first time being at a beach. And Angela was like, well, this is going to be your first summer of firsts. So you might as well get ready for it. Like, it should be something amazing from the way that she was saying it. So she pulls her up and was like, let's take our first swim of the summer. And despite the water possibly being cold, she was like, I don't care. I want to get in this water. So the aunt is just sitting on the sand and she sees Angela. And she could tell by her body language that, something is going on. And so she asked her, was she okay? She walks back to her. And then she was just like, I just want to live out this dream for my mama. And, I miss her. This is the reason why we're here. And, she starts crying. So the youngest person comes from the water and they embrace one another and they were like, it's okay, and it was a nice moment. Child, the next scene, we see these upper class, I guess you could say, black people who are, the characters' names are Raymond and Leah Dupont. Now, the wife, she wants to hyphenate her name because she comes from money on both sides, from her husband and from her own family. Her daddy has this company. We're going to get into that later on. But yeah, apparently her husband does exceptionally well. They are wealthy, high, living off the hog, all that good stuff. We saw at the beginning of this where all of these black maids and butlers were running around this luxurious place, dusting, cleaning. I'm talking about down to, making sure every little speck is off of the, what are they, Mercedes, Benz, SUVs and things, like doing the most. And that's when we later on see a private plane touch down and these two and their children get off the plane. The other two are Lauren Dupont and Quincy Dupont. I feel like there's another child, but if it is, I'll get to him later on. So anyway, they doing what they doing, and they are greeted by the staff, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, we're so glad you're here. We've been waiting for you." And then this woman, who I talked about in the thing, y'all gonna see who I'm talking about because I can't. Her name is Olivia. She'd have set it off. She basically was like, "We're glad to see y'all. We're glad y'all touched down, and we've been waiting on y'all. You're like an hour late." And so the woman was like, "I did the best I could. I'm doing what I can do. You know, we did what we could do." And I think this is his mama, the husband's mama, if not her mama. It's one of them folks' mama. So anyway, if I'm not mistaken, or she doing the most, and she just acting like she one of their mamas. I think she is one of their mothers. So she was like, "We gotta what is the thing called? I don't want to say the incorrect name, but they were gonna be having a fundraiser, and they're having a gala. That night they're having a gala, and she's like, "Look, I got this under control. You ain't gotta worry about it. It's okay." And whatever. I don't know. Now I'm over here. No, I got the wrong person again, y'all. I'm gonna have to correct my thing because I just looked at this woman again. That's not her. Oh my gosh, what is going on here? Y'all, my bad. I done messed up all the way around. This rain has me hypnotized. I need to go to sleep. But anyway, y'all. So I don't know what was going on in their marriage, but after the woman walked away, she was like, "Yeah, this is gonna be perfect for us. We're gonna be able to get our marriage back on track." And I'm like, "Okay, what's going on? Was it work that was in the way? Did somebody cheat? Like, what's going on?" That wasn't revealed in this episode, but it is what it is, and they acting like they're here for one another. So I'm like, okay, do what you do. Well, Angela, Angela, her aunt, and her the other person who I later realized is her child. This is a 17-year-old. But when I saw her, I was like, wait a minute. But I had to stop the show. I was like, wait a minute, what's going on here? She had her 17 years ago. And I'm over here thinking this is her whole sister and they mama just died. But no, this is the 17-year-old's grandmama that has passed away. And I'm like, ooh, y'all done confused me what is going on. So anyway, yeah. So let me make sure I get her name right. Nikki, Angela, and Patricia all go to this place. It is going to be the building where they are going to set up shop for the business that her mama always dreamed of having. We found out that her mama was actually a maid, and she would come there and work when a lot of the wealthy people were there and in need of service in the summertime and all this other stuff. And I just kept trying to understand, okay, what was the significance? Like, how was she a maid? And then it's like when we saw her in the flashback, something else was going on. Okay, I'm confused. But it started to come together. So I was like, okay, cool. So Angela's looking around and she's just having these memories of her mama. And she's not understanding why she doesn't know who her father is. The aunt says she don't even know what the man's name is. So that's something that died with the mama. And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. But then she had the flashback and she had like a knock at the door. The man who was the daddy came in and, she realizes that it's him and she run after him. Like that man walked about the house. He gave her a stack of money, I guess, to basically have her to go away and just realize, okay, I ain't got nothing to do with you or this child. It is what it is. Bye. And went on by his business. And she chases after him, trying to get him to stay. He wouldn't even turn around. Like, it just was what it was for him. So we then find out that the 17-year-old got expelled from school. She caught a case because the fight was so bad. And so she was like, look, we gonna start over. This is gonna be a clean slate. And like moments like this, they jumping on a bed and doing the most. Oh, they really look like sisters. Talking about that's her mama. Oh, okay. I understand, but I'm just saying. But she's feeling like she's going to have a hard time adjusting because she's like, I'm going to be the new kid. I ain't going to be able to have no friends. And so her mama like, girl, what you talking about? You everything. Like, you shouldn't have that hard of a time getting friends. It's going to be okay. But she was like, okay, we got this gala that we're going to go to. We're going to, make some moves. It is what it is. So they're there. And Lance Gross's character, I'm going to get his name eventually without having to look his name up. Tyreek. He's looking at her from across the room like he cannot keep his eyes off of her. I was like, ma'am and sir. Like, and I could tell that she could tell that he was peeping. He was peeping her. I was like, you was doing a lot in your life, sir. Calm down. And Raven's character, who is Josephine, she sees, everything that's going on, and they are just having a good time. And she wanted to know, could she get introduced to the host, because she's trying to make a name for herself and, get into their pockets, if you will, and their good graces, because she wants to be able to really have that legacy to be built on her mama's behalf, because it was something that her mama was never to bring to full fruition. And it's a hair care situation. She makes conditioners, shampoos, and all that stuff from scratch. Like, the packaging that I've seen on some of the stuff that she's shown before is really, really cute, and it's everything. So then they have an open bar, I guess, and the daughter goes over to the bar and she asks for like a club soda or something like that. The boy talking about, yeah, I think you need something a little bit stronger. And he trying to get this girl to get alcohol. And I'm like, boy, first of all, are you old enough? And second of all, do you know how old she is? Because I feel like she ain't even 21. So what is we doing? So then the girl who I know recently from watching All American, she doing the most. And like, it seems like everybody else is here for her but her. And she just mad because she just want to get her way. And you can tell she's a spoiled brat. I really feel like that's the role that she really playing, because I think she's the sibling to that brother who is here for the 17-year-old. So yeah, the brother was trying to kind of hit on her a little bit, but not really. But you can tell he here for her. And the other girl is a whole mood. She came over and like everybody was here for her. And I'm like, girl, go take the picture and go somewhere and sit down. Like, she really bugging them trying to get a picture. And I'm like, is it that deep? Like, I guess she's really one of those that's into social media. You need to know my every move, whatever. So Angela went and introduced herself to the DuPont. And they're like, oh, okay. We see what you got going on, sis. We here for it. And I mean, she really is explaining who she is and all of that. And they seem very impressed. And so when she said what the name of the company is, which is, I think, Eve's Crown, he was like, wait a minute, where have I heard that from? Ended up telling him all of this. And so the wife, she just seems so bothered. And I'm like, why are you bothered off rip? Like, and it's like, it's not like she's looking at her like, I'm intrigued. It's like, I'm bothered by you. And I'm like, girl, don't do any of this. I'm not here for it. I am not here for it. I'm just not here for it. So she tried to give a donation. I cannot read for the life of me how much the check said. But she tried to hand the check to them. And they both looked at the check. And I'm just like, I really feel like it said like $165 or something like that. And I was just like, why did you try to get him $165? You know how much a bottle of something costs these people? A glass itself being poured costs more than $165. What is we doing? I was like, I know she didn't. But anyway, she's trying to appease and she's trying to be seen and trying to rub elbows. I get that, do what you do. So anyway, she's in the middle of walking and talking, and then she bumps into Tyreek, who again is Lance Gross's character, who's been eyeing her the entire time. And she done broke a heel. So this is his opportunity to swoop in. He done said it all. He's somebody, I've been watching you, and I've been waiting to talk to you all night, introduced himself and all this other stuff. And so he was like, let me help you. So he done helped to take her shoes off and all this other stuff, introduced one another and all this other stuff. And so she went on by her business, because she trying to go on by her business, do what she doing, because she ain't got no shoes at this point. So yeah, the aunt is a mess, and I'm here for her at. she on my type of time. She see what he look like. She talking about, shoot, chocolate's supposed to melt in the summertime, don't it? Like, shoot, know what I'm talking about. So it is what it is. She's doing, she done went home, and now she's doing like a YouTube video, or went live, and she's showing how the products apply to her hair react, and the people are living and all this other stuff. And I'm like, okay, cool. She keeps having these moments where she's thinking about her mama And we see her literally in the kitchen with a bottle of coconut oil and whatever else, making conditioner from scratch. And I'm like, okay, you better do that. So then we then see, I want to say her last name, I mean her first name correctly. We then see Leah Franklin DuPont, who again is Morris Chestnut's wife, Raymond. His name on here is Raymond. We see her daddy, and her daddy is Teddy Franklin. They have a business, and whatever it is, she ain't here for it. She's not here for him. And I don't really remember if I heard him say what the business was, but she feels as if he's a crook. She feels as if he's a liar. And she was just like, you over here bribing these people in order to acquire and secure these locations and all this other stuff. She tried to come for him. He didn't want to hear it. And I was just like, Lord, the way he went off, I'm here for it in a sense, but I was like, dang, that's your child. Like, you could have came at her a different way. You could have said what you was going to say without going there. But he basically said all he said to say that I am a black man making all these moves. I am in a power position. I am everything. They are going to have to want to come to me and need to come to me in order to get things done. I am me. He pretty much played the role that we saw if you were one of the people who was watching Scandal from week to week. He played that all day. That's what was happening in this moment. So yeah, I was like, yes, I had to calm down. So yeah, anyway, moving right along, we then see Morris Chestnut's character, Raymond, on a basketball court playing basketball with his son, Quincy DuPont. And he basically was trying to butter him up because he was like, yeah, I want to spend some time with you this summer. He was like, okay, that's cool, Dad. And so he was like, I also need you to, make an appearance with me at this function that I'm going to. It's going to be something that's going to be, a learning experience, which I'm not really here for it. And I'll tell y'all why in a little while. Y'all probably read me for it and not want to have nothing to do with me because of y'all. A lot of y'all subscribe to it, but I don't. And I have my own personal reasons for that. I don't hate nobody who do it, but it's just not for me. And I've seen so much more negative than positive associated with anything that's relating to that. That's why I don't want nothing to do with it. And I get there when I get there. So anyway, the son is gonna go with him, and he over here playing basketball like he a whole 20-year-old when I know he got to be 40 something on here. So anyway, we then see the ladies at the house, and they are enjoying themselves. Even Josephine is there and interacting because they know that a gala is coming up, and Angela got invited somewhere. And she's like, wait a minute, I got invited. And they was like, wait a minute, let me see this. As soon as I saw the box, first of all, there was a box. And I was like, I feel like old boy sent her a pair of shoes. Not only did he send her a pair of shoes, they were red bottoms. I was like, you done went off. You done went all the way off, y'all. So I was like, oh, you doing it like that. Okay. So yeah, it's been interesting already. So everybody here for it, whatever. So then the daughter was invited to come to a party, and they were wondering whether or not she was going to show up or not. And this woman, the woman who was there, the girl, let me say girl, because yeah, y'all know how these people be looking grown, and I mean, they be looking like children, but they're grown. Yeah. The girl hugged the daughter. It was like, oh my gosh, it's so good to see you. And she like put something in her bag. I was like, what is that? Are you trying to set her up? In my mind, I really felt like she was trying to set her up because the girl don't like her. And so I was like, did she persuade you to set this girl up so she can get in trouble in some way? She don't need no more trouble. These people don't know what she had going on in her past, but she don't need no more trouble. So meanwhile, while all this going on over there, because they like on a yacht party, she's at another, situation where she was invited, She sees Tariq sitting at a gambling table playing cards. So he looked at her, and then they had made a point to zoom in and zoom down and look at her shoes. I was like, oh no, that's not the shoes that, he bought her. And she was like, I can buy my own shoes. And so he was basically trying to make it seem like, I mean, I understand that, but I want you to be able to, get into the rooms that you want to get into, whatever, whatever. So then we go back to the yard party, and then we hear screaming, and I was like, what is going on here? The daughter of Leah and Raymond is screaming. The girl who hugged the daughter, Nikki, is overboard. And I'm like, okay, I'm still in my mind, like, okay, is this a joke? Like, are they trying to get her caught up? Are they trying to trick her? Whatever, whatever. No, this turned out to be real. They said she was drunk and she was overboard or whatever. All of these people are underage from what I can gather. So I'm trying to understand why is y'all doing all this. Anyway, y'all doing the most. Child, they ended up having to call the police, and they had the daughter of the wealthy folks, and everybody, they was going to go down to the station, and it was just a lot. Well, then we see Angela get home from bringing the daughter, Nikki, home. She going off. She was like, what were you doing drinking? Da-da-da-da. Like, that went all the way off. She was like, I just had a drink. When she actually had a couple of shots of something or whatever. And she was like, I was not drunk, whatever, whatever. Because that's why, when that happened, I was like, oh no, what, she put a bottle of alcohol in her bag, some drugs? Like, what was it? None of that was the case. So I'm like, well, dang, when does that factor into play? Because I need to know what she put in her bag. We getting there. Okay, then. So I was like, oh, y'all interrupted her time. They ended up calling her. She called her. Now, before she ended up leaving the function she was at, she was having her one-on-one moment with Tariq. And he was just trying to tell her that, I'm who I am. I grew up down the street in the smallest house, whatever. And I'm like, boy, the smallest house is still pretty much a mansion to people like her. But he owns his own construction company. It's very lucrative. He does well, all of that. They had a whole moment. Like, she leaned in. I thought she was going to read him, and she proceeded to kiss him. And I was like, oh, well, excuse me. I really was like, whoa. Wow. Wow. Excuse me. I really was like, whoa. Yeah, I really thought she was going to lean in like this and then read him and then walk off. No, they started kissing down, and then her phone went off, and he didn't even want her to stop kissing. But anyway, like I said, fast forward, that situation went down. She done went off because the most had popped off. The aunt trying to figure out what's going on because it's the middle of the night, and it's just too much. Underage drinking, don't nobody have time. Like, you don't need no more attention put on you, heifer. Why would you even engage in any of this foolishness? You're wrong. So anyway, the next day, I'm presuming, Josephine has taken this woman, Angela, to a meeting because there is going to be a chapter type situation going on. And of course, it's being passed on to Leah. And I'm like, okay, whatever. So they want to know if there are going to be any new members trying to, come in. And Angela stands up. And so they were like, oh, well, we've heard of you, but we don't really know you like that. We don't have much information on you. So she was like, what's your relation? Who are your folks? And she was like, oh, well, my mother. Like, she went on to say who her mama was, but she lied because she said her mother was a business owner instead of saying my mama was a maid running these parts. Because she didn't want what she had brewing and everything that she was building for her mama's legacy to be tainted and to be seen as trash, all because of what she did back in the past. So y'all, the absolute most happened on this episode, and I was tired. And then the function that the daddy was going to me, it was along the lines of what fraternities do. Mason type stuff. I ain't got time. I know people who have been a part of Freemason stuff and the fraternities, sororities, and all that other stuff. And at one point in time, I did want to be a part of Sigma Gamma Rho because to me that was on the campus that I attended on Alabama State University. To me, that was the only one that had the truest form of sisterhood that I would have been able to really see myself being affiliated with. But yeah, I still couldn't get over all of the terrible stories that I'd heard and all that. I can't get down with the hazing that happened. You ain't finna break no paddle over my behind. You not finna do all this foolishness to me. I ain't got to, it's just it's so many moving parts, y'all. I've already done like a little thing on it before, but we not even gonna get into that. But it is what it is. But that's just something that I'm not into. That's not for me. Now, other people, they live for it. A lot of people, they identify with that more than they do with who they actually should be identifying with as far as who they are as a real person, instead of something that you have to pay and have personal paraphernalia to say, oh, this is me. And that's all people usually see them as, and the parties and all that stuff. That's stupid to me. So anyway, back to the function. So she ends up standing up and telling the people all what she got going on and lying to the folks, talking about her mama was a business owner. So then, of course, word got back to anybody who wasn't in the room when that happened. And she was like, look, I just didn't want nobody to try my mama. So she's in her feelings and she's making up these concoctions for the hair conditioners and all this other stuff. And it's everything. Now, I was worried when I first saw everything because the aunt was wearing a wig. And she kept talking about, oh, I don't want nobody to, I don't want my hair to get wet. And I was just like, why you keep talking about this wig? Take that wig off and go get in the water. The way she was saying it, because I could tell it was one of the way you could have easily pulled it off. So I was confused why she was acting like this. But then the real life person who she is, I know a while back she had like locks. So I was like, is she not locked anymore? So then they had this scene where she's at home and then she had the wig off. And I was like, okay, her hair was like braided down, but I think it's still locked. So I'm like, oh, okay. Cause I was wondering about that. Cause I live for her, Debbie Morgan, in real life. So yeah. And because of everything that happened, you know, Angela just yelled at her daughter and all this other stuff. She was grounded and all of that. And so she came out to get her something to drink. And so she kind of tried to be like, hey, Nikki. Hi, Nikki. And so she was like, oh, hey, I mean, I guess you speaking to me or whatever. So she was like, the daughter read her, was like, oh, so now, you know, you want to speak to me even though you were here doing the same thing I was doing. And so she was like, first of all, I'm grown. I was like, Lord. Anyway, she basically said to her, you going to accompany me to this function. I want you to accompany me. And she was like, it ain't like I got a choice. I'm grounded. So I got to go anyway, right? And walked off. She went to her room not knowing that stuff that was in her bag was in there. So she knocked her bag over and then her phone fell out. So she's like, okay. So she laid on her bed and she looks at the phone, which is magically unlocked. And we see Leah's daughter and the other girl who lived for Nikki on a bed or somewhere laying down, kissing or whatever. So apparently, you know, I guess she's putting two and two together. So she's like, oh, because her family is of this elite status, maybe this is something that she doesn't want to get out, or she wants at least one other person to know about it because she has to keep it under wraps because, oh no, we want y'all to get married to men and create children so that the generational wealth can continue or whatever. Maybe that's the agenda. And she's like, if we love each other and we here for one another, why we gotta hide it? So in her mind, this is just, you know, different things that eventually is going to come out as to why she thinks that she passed that off to her, especially with her being new. It's like, why would you tell her what is going on? So, yeah. So they're at the function that, what's her name? Wait a minute. I don't want to get her name wrong. So there was a function that everybody was going to be going to. And there was like a fashion side to it. And they had somebody who was going to do hair and makeup, styling and all that other stuff. And Angela volunteered to do it at the meeting. This heifer was like, no, you can bring the drinks and all that other stuff. She was like, really? So she was like, oh, so are you against doing that? Are you too good for that? She was like, no. Child, as luck would have it, as fate would have it, whoever the stylist was did not come through at all. And so when the heifer finally showed up, she was like, what's the meaning of all of this? What's going on back here? Like, heifer, if you don't go somewhere and sit down. This is when she sees that she is in full stylist mode. Everybody hair looking good. What's her name? Josephine was like fabulousness, like everything. It's everything. That's what's going on back here. She done did everybody hair. Everybody hair look good. And I mean, they really set it off. And she was like, well, I mean, it is what it is. And she had to sit down. She ended up styling a wig for her to wear, and her daughter walked out. Like, it was, you could tell like the way that she did it, it was highlighting black hair. It probably wasn't going to be anything remotely close to that had it been whoever they had coming through. But you could tell it was all black people for the most part. Because I saw somebody, unless they was mixed, they was white. It was all black people who were embracing their natural hair. And the way that she did it, the artistry of it all, it was cute. Like, one of them, it looked like it was a like black Rapunzel let down your hair situation. But it was froed out like Marley hair-esque. Like, I don't know. It was everything, though. It was really cute. Braids were in the mist. Locks were in the mist. All sorts of things like that were in the mist. I was here for it. So after that all happened, we see the daughter having a moment. And like, you could tell she's kind of traumatized. And like, she still be trying to come at the daughter, Nikki, sideways. So the daughter told her, like, it is what it is. I know what's going on. She showed her the video and she was like, okay, so what am I supposed to do about that? And she was like, you got to tell the truth. Apparently she went down to the station and lied, tried to make it seem like she was like, even when the police came, she was like, I was nowhere near her when she went overboard. And it's like, girl, why? You lying that hard just because you don't want nobody to know that you like women? Is that what it is? Is that what we've been reduced to? It is definitely 2021. Why can't you tell your parents that you like women? What is going on here? I was so confused. So anyway, she tried to walk off, and then she lied even further when it became a ruckus. It turned into a whole ruckus. And so her mom was like, what is going on here? And she was like, she's starting drama. She's starting things. And I was just like, girl, what is this lying for? So she lied. She was like, I don't know. She just keeps lying. She just keeps starting things. And so she's like, what is with you and your family? So of course her mama, Angela, then rolled up like, what's going on here? What's wrong with you? And so she was like, it's you and your family. And she had to read her. She was like, I can't believe you. I done saved this event and I haven't even gotten a thank you from you. You need to act like you were raised right. I was like, ma'am, child. It's like she knew she got checked, and then she felt the presence of that heifer and was like, oh, I got to turn it on now. The heifer, Olivia, the older heifer who was, turning over the chapter keys, if you will, to her, passing along everything with the chapter to her. So she gonna turn it up, then read her and had paperwork talking about your mama wasn't here. She wasn't nobody here. She was just a maid. And she had a record. And she was arrested for the intention the intent to sell narcotics or something like that. It had the paperwork, had the mugshot and everything else. I was like, what is wrong with you? That girl started crying. She was like, it's not true. My mother didn't do these things. I was like, man, y'all done did the most on the first episode. They did the absolute most on the first episode, y'all. So I was like, nah, ain't nobody got time. So then this heifer, the next day, she is so high off of bringing this woman down that she done went in her office where her daddy was at. Now, y'all remember the beginning of the episode, the heifer was read by her daddy, and he told her, I specifically purchased the biggest table that I could find so that I could put it in this room. And I had it on an incline, so everybody would have to lift their heads up to look at me because I'm the head of this company and the head of this table. And I was wondering when this part of the episode came in, why is it that when he walked in the door, there were saw shavings? There was circular saw shavings all on the table. I said, who cutting wood and just left it on the table? What is going on here? I know that when I see that because, again, I keep trying to tell y'all, my dad was a jack of all trades. He built houses and everything else. So I know what all of this looked like when it's happening. So I'm like, why is this just on the table, though? Well, this heifer gonna tell her daddy, to make a long story short, what you gonna do is retire and I'm gonna take over the business. And I made it my business to, make sure that you're part of the table is where it need to be. I leveled your side off. So now it's at an incline so that, she can, be seen as the head of it. And so he was like, you know what, you won this round for today, but that's it. So this helped basically to force her daddy into retirement. I'm like, girl, you done did the most. Like, why? Child, all I gotta say is, Angela's trying to figure out like what's really going on because she got tried. The heifer done told her husband that that apparently my father is going into retirement, and I'm like, girl, I hope your husband know you because I'm sick and tired. And at the same time, I don't know if the husband is on something, so we gonna see. Like right now, he seems like he is everything, but I don't know. Looks can be deceiving. These people be really trying it. So anyway. Yeah, they end up showing a flashback again, continuing on from that moment when the daddy left the house and all of that. And I was like, wait a minute, baby. The daddy left the house. It's pouring down rain and part of his watch is on the ground. And she pick it up and she's like, Daddy! And he don't even want to look back. And then we see a child in the car. And I was just like, there was video footage that they found also at the house where, because they were trying to look into this case, like, I know my mama ain't do this. My mama would never touch drugs. And your mama went off on me when I was trying to date this drug dealer back in the day. So I know she wouldn't touch drugs. So I was like, what is going on up in here? So they get the interrogation footage and they looking like, okay, what's going on? They hear the man's name is Teddy. And she was like, Teddy, I didn't do this. Da, 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 da. Next thing we know, this man to turn the camera off. And so this is when it dawns on Angela that this man, his name is Teddy. Teddy is Leah's daddy, meaning this heifer done read her own sister and told her own sister down. Don't even know it's her sister. I'm tired of y'all already. I'm tired in my spirit. So then when they went on with the flashback, we see it raining so bad that when he get in the car and pull off, a little girl who is Leah is on the inside of the car. It's like, Daddy, who's that? And he was like, baby, nobody. And pull off. Child, she had that wig and went over to that heifer's house and was like, I've come to retrieve my wig. And she went and gave it to her and they tried to have a little conversation. And, she didn't tell her nothing about her, her speculations or suspicions about her being her sister or nothing like that. But she was just like, you're going to have to put some respect on my mama name and all this other stuff. They tried to have like a little conversation, but she tried to let her know, you don't scare me, heifer. You can feel big and mighty all you want, whatever. Man, she politely went and looked through that wig. I said, this heifer looking for hair. I know she looking for hair. And she found a strand of hair and she gonna get it tested for DNA to see if this heifer is her sister like she thinks she is. I'm tired. Tasha Smith, I don't know if y'all know who she is, but she's the woman who was in Why Did I Get Married and all this other stuff. And Michael Jai White always played her husband. And, they actually dated in real life at one point in time. Like, it's crazy. But yeah, she is producing, directing, and all this. So I'm like, ooh, I love when I see her name on stuff. I already knew I was going to live for the show anyway. But when I saw that she was one of the executive producers and directors and all that good stuff, I was like, ooh, this finna be good. This finna be good. But anyway, hopefully y'all enjoyed the recap review of this. I'm sorry it was so long. It's just so good, y'all. I'm gonna have to figure out how I'm gonna cut all this down in my life over time. But it's so good already. So I apologize in advance. Hopefully y'all have a good one. Y'all enjoy this. Y'all be safe out there and I'll see y'all later. Bye.